All right, you're live.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, good evening and welcome to Rigid Waters Virtual Open House. This is the first of two events being held, with our second scheduled for April 20th at noon. My name is Richard Calby. I'm the Director of Rigid Water and will be your host for tonight's event. In prior years, we have hosted this program in person. Although we are missing that opportunity to engage, we are very excited to host this live virtual event for the consumers in the Rigid Water service area. Thank you for joining us. All attendees are in listen-only mode, but feel free to use the Q&A function below at the bottom of your screen to post any questions or raise your hand during the question and answer portion of the presentation that will be after each presenter for about 30 minutes of allotted time. Any questions not answered tonight will be addressed and posted to our website in a frequently asked questions portion. Additionally, this session is being recorded and will be available on the Rigid Water website and on the Village of Ridgewood YouTube video page. If you are viewing the recorded version and have questions, please feel free to contact us at 201-670-5520 or by email at cswater@ridgewoodnj.net. So let's get started. Tonight we have 4 speakers covering 5 topics that will give you an overview of our operation and lead into the important topic of emerging contaminants, specifically PFAS contamination and Rigid Water's treatment plan for the PFAS contamination. We will cover topics including customer service, water treatment, geographical information systems or GIS mapping, water distribution, and of course PFAS, otherwise known as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And then we will take questions and answers for about 30 minutes. So let's start with a little system overview. And Neil, if you could switch the slide. Ridgewood Water is a public utility owned and operated by the Village of Ridgewood. We serve over 60,000 customers daily across 20,300 billable accounts. We feed that system and customers from 52 groundwater wells that go to 31 points of entry or treatment plants. We maintain 1,751 hydrants for firefighting, 5,794 valves for isolating leaks in sections of the distribution system, 10 water storage tanks storing 14 million gallons of treated water, 295 miles of water mains to distribute the water to our customers, and 2 interconnections and 10 emergency interconnections that allow purchased water to come into the system for peak use and for emergencies. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on the sources of our water. Rigid Water has 52 wells that account for 90% of the water treated and distributed into the system. These wells are drilled into the Brunswick Aquifer. There's a fun fact relating to Rigid Water wells. Some wells are as deep as the Empire State Building is tall. We have one well that is over 1,000 feet, but most are in the hundreds. The other 10% of the water that we provide in the system is purchased via the interconnections. This is used primarily to meet peak summer demands and is purchased from the Borough of Hawthorne, which is groundwater, and Suez Water, which is a combination of both groundwater and surface water. This is important because Ridgewood Water's daily demand ranges from a low of 5 million gallons a day to upwards of 17 million gallons a day in the summer peak months. Most of this peak usage is associated with residential irrigation. To help manage this peak and lessen the concentration of PFAS in the Ridgewood Water, we will be purchasing from a dirt source in the future as early as 2022 from Passaic Valley Water Commission, which is also a surface water source. So to start things off, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Timoney. Dan is our business manager for the utility. He's responsible for managing department affairs and specifically the customer service, billing, and metering divisions. Dan is going to start and talk about customer service.
Thank you, Rich, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. So Rigid Water has been planning an overhaul of customer service, leading up to the rollout of 3 new user-friendly technology tools that we will be pushing out in the coming weeks. The first one being a new Rigid Water website. The second, we are transitioning from our current payment processing vendor, MCC, to Invoice Cloud. And the third is a software as a service called WaterSmart, which we think will completely revolutionize our customer service operation. So to speak about the first item, the new Ridgewood Water website, when we set out to design the website, we wanted it to be user-friendly, organized, and aesthetically pleasing. We wanted our customers to easily find direct links to most used items and those that are most frequently accessed. We also plan to feature interactive tools such as address lookup during annual hydrant flushing and service line material lookup for your information as well. We will be constantly updating a news item ticker, and the website will be mobile friendly and directly linked to our social media platforms. So here is just a little bit of the preliminary design of the website. Top would be the homepage, and on the bottom half of the screen here, you can see the tiles of the most frequently accessed items. For example, people right now will often call in and ask what they have to do if they're moving. We want a nice central location for people to access that information without having to spend that time making a phone call or drafting an email. Next slide. On the customer payment experience, MCC, the company we were previously using, was actually purchased by a company called Invoice Cloud. Invoice Cloud is a much more user-friendly portal, and we're happy to take this next step. We think the biggest win of rolling out to Invoice Cloud is that we will now actually be able to take Visa cards, in addition to MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. With Visa representing more than 40% of the card market share, some of our customers were simply unable to take advantage of the online bill pay options we offered in the past. So we're really excited about that. Additionally, a nice perk of Invoice Cloud is that they have partnered with WaterSmart, which we will talk about shortly, and we have elected to pursue single sign-on integration. So everything that you would want to do from a payment experience can be done right through the WaterSmart portal, and we'll talk about that next. Next slide, Neil. Great. So we view WaterSmart as a game changer for our customers. It is a software as a service platform for enhanced customer engagement and data analytics. Our goal is to provide customers with more frequent water usage data and consumption analysis and analytics. We're thrilled to offer two-way communication options using WaterSmart's group messaging platform. We will be offering water usage insights and conservation strategies through the WaterSmart portal. And we will be offering our customers myriad self-service tools, again, with integrated bill pay functionality as discussed earlier. Lastly, something our customers have asked us about a lot over the years, we'll be rolling out and featuring leak alerts and use threshold notifications through the WaterSmart portal, and we'll talk about an example of that in a minute. So WaterSmart comes with both a utility dashboard and a customer portal. On the customer side, WaterSmart will act as a one-stop shop for all Ridgewood Water services. Every customer will have access to a personalized customer portal, and again, mobile friendly with integrated bill pay. No need to be routed to or access any third-party sites. In terms of your communications with us, customers will be able to select their communication preferences of choice. Going forward, you'll be able to send and receive communications with us according to those preferences. So if you're someone who only wants to receive emails from Ridgewood Water, simply select email as your sole communication preference. Won't receive any text messages or voice messages. For several years, Ridgewood Water has read meters monthly, but billed quarterly. So that means we've had more data than we've been able to provide our customers with on a monthly basis. And that will help you and provide you with better insight into water usage patterns, seasonal trends of consumption, and help to identify potential leaks. So that two-way communication regarding potential leaks can really help to save money for our customers and reduce water waste. On the utility side, we'll be reaching out to some accounts proactively each month to ask customers to check for leaks on the property because of increases that we've observed in water usage. Based on the amount of water used, a potential leak might be associated with a higher likelihood of a running toilet rather than, say, an irrigation leak. Customers can then respond to our communication about a potential leak directly based on whether or not a leak was found, and we can work together to determine the next steps. In terms of registration, you will all be receiving in the coming weeks a welcome letter from WaterSmart from Ridgewood Water, which will be detailing the registration process. On the back end, everyone has an account created already. It's simply logging in and accessing that information. So all you need is your account number and your zip code, followed by a simple registration using your email and password. Once you have that up and running, this tool, which is again free for all customers, will provide us with a platform to give you, our customers, information that we have internally, but we'll also offer you many more self-service tools. And we're very excited to roll this out to you in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Dan. I think it's pretty clear that WaterSmart's going to help Ridgewood Water take the next step towards conservation and sustainability. And that's part of our overall goal in treatment and part of the whole operation of the system. So speaking of treatment, we have Ryan Fury up next. Ryan is a Ridgewood Water chemist. He's responsible for the Ridgewood Water lab and all testing and associated compliance for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. So Ryan, why don't you take it away?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Fury. So I'll be talking about our treatment division today. So treatment division is pretty self-explanatory, right? So we own, operate, and treat all the water that we are pumping from our underground aquifers and provide you guys in our distribution system. So in order to do that, we had to abide by NJDEP rules and regulations in order to stay in compliance. So we rely on the lab to sample, analyze, and compile all that data for you guys. And, we send it in for them for review and ensure that, we're in compliance with everything. So we do have a lot of chemical additions for our distribution system. So we primarily disinfect our water for bacteria with chlorine, and we use corrosion control inhibition polyorthophosphate, which is basically just a fancy way of saying lead and copper protection. And we monitor this on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis with our SCADA system and our online instrumentation. We also take bacteriological sampling on a daily basis. This is basically to ensure that, our disinfection protocols are working properly and there's no bacteria contamination now in the system that, potentially you, the consumer, can, ingest. We also take volatile organic compound and water quality parameters on a weekly basis. Basically, water quality parameters are just an all-encapsulating view of lead and copper protection. So, we make sure that we're doing our best to make sure that, you guys aren't, ingesting any kind of lead and copper. So on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis, we also do other primary and secondary contaminants. And we have, on a quarterly basis, we're doing PFAS sampling, which has just been regulated as of last year. So we're on the ball with that as well. Moving on to the next slide. So Ridgewood Water, our pilot studies, we have taken a very proactive approach with our treatment strategies. So with the use of these pilot plant instrumentation. So basically what a pilot plant is it's just a small scale water treatment in a controlled and isolated setting. And what we do is we take the newest technology, chemicals, theories, ideas, and we perform experimentation in a closed loop, and make sure that the effluent isn't getting discharged into the distribution system. And we monitor, analyze, and compile all the data over a long period of time, and basically look at how these new technologies, these new chemicals, et cetera, are working, and see if we can implement that into our own system. It's honestly beneficial twofold, not only for us because it optimizes our system and it ensures that we're doing the right thing, obviously, but it also can help with cost as well. So if there's a new technology, a new chemical out there that we can use that does the same thing but at a better cost efficiency, obviously we're going to do that because it'll help not only us but you guys as well. It'll be easier for you to pay for the water. So we have just recently finished up a lead and copper optimization study for our pilot studies. We also did a mixing study with Passaic Valley Water, which is actually part of our new interconnection. And, it's going to allow us to, increase our demand and, maintain water into our system. And we actually are in collaboration with the EPA on one of our PFAS studies. So, it's an exciting thing. And, we're going to be continuing doing this kind of service for the foreseeable future. So how does lead actually enter the drinking water supply? So this is a great question, everybody should know and be informed about this. This is not naturally occurring. So basically what happens is as water interacts with pipes and lead solder and lead service lines, the friction that when it's moving over a pipe, it's gonna take that lead and what they call leaching, and it's gonna basically absorb into the water supply, and that's how lead contamination occurs. So basically, like for layman's terms, when you're rubbing your hands together and you get that friction, you have particulates that come out in your hands, right? So it's kind of like the same idea. So like that rubbing, constantly over lead solder and lead service lines, that's what's gonna have the lead leach out into the water supply, and that's what potentially people could be ingesting. So if we move on to the next slide, sorry. Basically how we take care of this is with an addition of polyorthophosphate. So it's a food grade additive, to be honest with you. So it's something that is used constantly and people ingest all the time. And basically what happens is it creates a small biofilm. So if you want to picture a pipe and water, right? So as you're running over a pipe, as water's running over a pipe, it's interacting with that pipe and it's constantly rubbing, and it's constantly getting more and more lead into it. But when we add this new chemical into the pipe walls, what happens is it coats the pipe walls, right? And it creates a small little barrier. So now if you want to picture a pipe with a small barrier and then water flowing over that barrier, you have a nice little gap now. So now you don't have that interaction between pipe and water, and that's how it's protecting you from, lead and copper contamination. That's basically what's happening. So we implemented this new corrosion control treatment in April of 2016. And looking at our next slide, you can see the results of this implementation. So anybody can access this small little table right here. It's a NJDEP approved website. If you just type in NJ Drinking Water Watch and you click on the first tab, you can find all this information online, but this is just a snapshot for you guys so you can see, real time of what I'm talking about. So from 2016 on to 2021, you can obviously see that lead and copper has significantly reduced over time since we added this new corrosion control inhibition. And the way that we collect samples for this, it's not just like it's not biased basically. So it's not like we're taking it from random spots that we can control. We have to coordinate with the DEP and take samples from sites that they are determined like good, and they're out in the distribution system, and people volunteer for us, and they take water from their own tap, and it's like real-time data essentially. So it's like basically what's actually coming out of consumers' taps, and it's from people that it could be your neighbor, it could be someone out in the distribution system. So that's how we're getting all this data for the DEP, and at least as you can see, it's been working very well. So moving on. Again, for the results, so the lead action level is 15 parts per billion. Obviously, last year we had a 0 ppb, so that's fantastic. The copper action level is 1.3 parts per million. We have gotten it down to 0.00645 parts per million, and these have actually been our lowest recorded samples results in our history of Ridgewood. So obviously the way that we're treating for lead and copper has been very effective, and we're going to continue to do that unless we find a different technology from our pilot studies, and we'll try to implement that. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad you took time to highlight lead and copper, because no matter what the newest type of contaminant may be, we always get questions about lead contamination in the water. So it's important that we shared that today. So next up, we're going to have Neil Gallone. Neil supervises the Ridgewood Water Mapping Group. He's responsible for asset management, field programs, customer resources, and staff support. So Neil's going to give you a nice overview of what GIS is and some interactive programs that we're creating for customers. Go ahead, Neil.
Good evening, everyone. And I apologize if I might cough on the side or anything, but allergies decided to kick in today. So it's just, perfect. I would just like to start with what is a GIS, real briefly. It stands for a geographic information system. However, it's essentially a database that also provides the ability to capture and analyze spatial and geographic data, such as water assets. Here at Ridgewood Water, we've maintained the GIS for over 30 years now, but it's been mostly used internally by our staff. About 2 years ago, we started a data migration of our GIS to a new platform that now allows us to provide you with some of these GIS tools. So I'm going to go over 3 of these tools that are currently in development and something that we hope to have available shortly after our new website has launched. The first one here is a service line lookup tool. In it, you'll be able to search for your address, then click on your service, and it will be able to show you what information we are currently holding in our GIS. Visually, we have color-coded the services with 3 categories: lead, needs further investigation, and not lead. When we state lead, that just means that your service line material may contain lead. So some service line materials that contain lead would be obviously lead, which we have some of, an iron pipe with a lead lining, an old iron pipe that just has a high lead content in it, and an old material that we used in about the 20s and 30s that was called tubaloid. When we state that it needs further investigation in this map, you'll be able to contact me through this tool and we can start an investigation on your service. However, currently we are updating all the service line information daily through 100 years of historic work orders that we have digitized and scheduled visual inspections when we cannot find the record. You'll notice on the bottom right that the services have a line and a highlight. And this is to help indicate both portions of the service. The thin line represents the curb to building that is owned by you, and the highlight represents the main to curb that is owned by us. So by clicking on a service, you'll also be provided further detail on your line, including things like the exact material, the size, or the install dates of both portions of the service line. Once you know what your line is made of, or if you see that it needs further investigation, an additional resource that we are going to provide, and we currently do provide, is a discounted water test kit. You'll be able to contact customer service and set up a day for an employee to drop this kit off at your home. That will also include instructions. The second interactive map that we're working on pertains to hydrants. This current slide that you see here with these images are showing a current dashboard that is in use today internally for hydrant inspections, which has a much lower impact on water service and quality when we're performing this. We typically perform our hydrant inspections in the spring and the summer, and we will be providing a very similar dashboard to this in the fall when hydrant flushing begins. We do our hydrant flushing in the fall due to just simply, as you heard earlier from Rich and stuff, our supply constraints that we have in the spring and the summer, and the temperatures just being too low in the winter. So when we're doing our flushing, we use about 1.5 million gallons to do that. So that's why, again, we can't do this during the summer. We also attempt to perform these flushings at night to limit the impact of the water service and quality. With this flushing dashboard, you'll also be able to see when hydrants are being flushed live. So when the men are out in the field and they're flushing a hydrant and they finish it, they complete it out in the field that is connected to this dashboard, and you will see the hydrant go from red to green. You will also have an estimated schedule when you zoom into your property, when you search for your home. It will also display an estimated schedule on when we will believe we will be in your territory to perform this flushing, to help alleviate, any issues you might have with dirty water or anything. The last one that we are hoping to have out very soon is something that should be kind of familiar to everybody. If you are ever wondering, does PSE&G or Orange and Rockland know I don't have any electric now that the wind has been blowing a little too fast? This one will, for water outages, show both emergency and planned outages. It will display the exact location of an event, and it will also highlight the customers that were affected. So some examples that will be shown on a map like this would be water main breaks, main replacements, valve installs, and boil water notices. Once you spot an event on this map and you zoom into it, you are going to be able to click on the actual event, which will have a pop-up that you could see in the middle picture there. And with that, you'll get further details like the event type. Is it a main break? Is it a boil water alert? You'll get a start date, an end date, an event time, which is about the amount of time we believe it will take for us to complete the task. You'll also get any relevant notes or attachments that we think would be helpful to you. And those attachments could be something like a notice that we do hand out to our customers when there's going to be outages that you can also see on the bottom right. But we'll also be able to attach pictures or videos or anything that we think might be interesting for you to see what we're doing out in the field and why you might have a service interruption. I don't want anyone to be too afraid of these tools. I do plan on actually putting out how-to videos along with each one of these maps so that you will actually be able to watch the video on how to perform any of these tasks while you're doing it. I really, really believe these tools are going to become helpful to everybody. Currently, I take a lot of phone calls and emails. I'm hoping that this can help some people do it on their own and get information even quicker, 24/7. And I honestly really just can't wait to release all these. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Neil. It's important to mention, mapping has been something the utilities use now for, I don't know, 10, 15 years or more. And it's helped our planning and operations greatly. And it's so great to see now that we're going to be able to share that with the public and give users the ability to see everything that we're doing live. And it'll help the consumer better plan themselves for improvements and, things that they're doing around their home.
Yeah, I've been doing this 21 years here now. So this is a nice change to be able to, show some of the work, not just to all my fellow employees, but hopefully to all the customers out here as well.
It's very exciting stuff. All right, so next we're going to turn it over to Bill Bierwas. Bill is the Assistant Superintendent for Rigid Water. He heads up compliance. I'm filling in for our licensed operator. He runs a distribution division and also the treatment division at times. So Bill's going to give us an overview of some of the work we're doing on the distribution side of things.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Thank you for the intro, and thanks everyone for joining tonight. It's such a beautiful night. I'll try and make it as brief as possible. What I wanted to start with tonight was talking a little bit about the distribution division. So the distribution division of Rigid Water is not commonly highlighted at our open houses and community forums, although their work is just as vital to the safe, clean drinking water that is provided to your home. These crews are the ones in the trenches, digging and making repairs to our distribution network despite heat, rain, and even snow. So what do these crews do on a daily basis? Despite COVID in 2020, our distribution division repaired 39 water main breaks, 41 service line repairs and or replacements, and a grand total of over 451 work orders were created and completed. Crews are also responsible for compliance with all aspects of the Water Accountability Act. This law, passed by New Jersey Senate, established new requirements for public water systems, including asset management and overall system maintenance. To comply with these new regulations, distribution crews have GPS located and installed brass ID tags on all 1,751 Ridgewood Water-owned hydrants. Crews have located, cleaned valve boxes, checked the operation of over 3,400 distribution valves. This effort includes hundreds of valves that were paved over by various street resurfacing projects. Distribution is also responsible for annual testing, repair, and flushing of all 1,751 fire hydrants and 12 emergency interconnections. Next slide. In 2020, Rigid Water initiated in-house efforts to replace and construct new water mains within the system. 3 quotes were solicited for the replacement, and prices range from $147,500 to almost $300,000. Distribution staff completed the entire project for $89,500, including base pave, for a savings of $58,000. Due to the success of the project, crews continued to replace over 2,000 linear feet of water main in 2021. Ridgewood Water also contracted OnCue to replace an additional 4,100 feet of pipe. The distribution goal for 2021 is an additional 2,000 feet of water main, for a grand total of just under 2 miles of pipe replaced in just less than 2 years. So on the bottom here, you're going to see a valve replacement that we performed. This was towards the end of 2020. Rigid Water staff identified 2 damaged valves during the routine valve inspection program that Neil mentioned earlier. These valves crossed Route 208, and replacement required coordination with the NJDOT, Wyckoff Police Department, Rigid Water Treatment Division, and various local traffic details. Each 16-inch valve, shown on the bottom left there, next to one of our guys, weighed over 1,250 pounds without fittings, and to date is the largest in-house valve replacement performed by Rigid Water. Next slide. So the next topic I want to get into is the PFAS and master plan. So what is PFAS? If you take a look at our notice, you probably know a little bit about it, but I want to go a little more in depth. So what is PFAS? PFAS is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, of which there are hundreds of compounds, including PFOA, PFOS, and PFNA. These compounds are found in firefighting foam, nonstick coatings, water repellent coatings, and even food packaging. Next slide. They're very widespread in the environment. PFAS compounds have even been found in the blood of polar bears, hundreds of miles away from humans. Interesting but alarming fact, on this very day in 1938, DuPont invented Teflon at their factory in New Jersey. Rigid Water sent out their first PFAS supplement notification in 2018. Here's the copy of the latest one. On this notice, which was an addition to our July CCR report, all customers would find additional information such as evolving science regarding PFAS, current system results, and even links to additional resources for home treatment. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about our PFAS master plan. So we hired Mott MacDonald, the professional engineering and designing firm, to perform a whole system PFAS master plan. They evaluated all PFAS treatment strategies and quickly narrowed down the choices to granular activated carbon and synthetic resin. GAC is on the left side of your screen, synthetic resin is on your right. So there's some advantages and disadvantages to both. GAC has many full-scale drinking water installations, can remove other contaminants such as organics, and can be reactivated via incineration. Resin is a newer technology with fewer full-scale installations. It is very PFAS selective, meaning that there's very limited co-contaminant removal. It likes to just remove PFAS. Resins are also single use with no option for regeneration. Next slide. So what are we doing to remove PFAS? Through collaborative research with Rigid Water personnel, Mott MacDonald developed a plan to centralize treatment. This method will reduce the number of treatment facilities from a current 31 down to a total of 12 points of entry. To facilitate this method, over 61,000 feet of raw water main must be installed, as well as 12 new treatment buildings. Important factors that were considered in this design: space availability and impact to the community. So as some residents know, some of our wells are located in backyards, postage size, very small lots. In order to do this treatment, we needed to move them to larger lots, hence the raw water mains. Also, workforce requirements. The reduced geographic area will reduce the number of water operators necessary to run the treatment system. And also seasonal operations, like Rich talked about. We need to be able to drop flow down to 4 million gallons in the winter, but increase that during peak demand when irrigation really kicks in around this time of year, up to 17 million gallons. By having that centralized, it'll really assist with that. Next slide, please. So presently, there is one GAC treatment facility in operation, providing PFAS-free water to the system. 5 additional plants are currently under design, and an additional 7 treatment plant designs will begin later this year. 3 more plants are to be completed for operation by 2023, and all plants providing 100% PFAS-free water will be operational by 2026. All right, I'll pass this over to Dan Timoney, our business manager. He's going to talk a little bit how we're going to fund this huge endeavor.
Thank you, Bill. So let's talk about costs. How do we fund the capital improvements and operating expenses associated with PFAS treatment? As a reminder, Ridgewood Water has filed a complaint against some of the manufacturers of PFAS chemicals, but it will take years for the litigation to work its way through the court system, and there are no guarantees as to the result of that litigation. While we certainly will be looking to see if funds are made available in the future at the state or federal level, there are none today. We wish that we had other options available to us, but right now we have to absorb these costs of operation, which will be reflected in rates. So we thought, rather than raising the volume rates by some amount, we would hire an independent rate consultant to assist with the development and financial calculation of a PFAS-specific surcharge to fund remediation and necessary system changes. We will continue to utilize the services of that independent rate consultant each year to recalculate the upcoming year's required PFAS surcharges. That surcharge would be offset in the future by any grant funds or legal recovery that is made by Ridgewood Water for that treatment. So essentially, we have separated out PFAS-related costs, both capital and operating, in our budget process to be as transparent as possible regarding the projected costs of that treatment and our required investment. So what does this mean for you, our customers, right now? Beginning with the third quarter bill of 2021, you will see the addition of a PFAS surcharge on your bills. The surcharge is based on meter size to reflect demand that can be placed on the system by the flow capacity of the meter. So for more than 90% of our system, meaning those who have a 5/8 inch meter, that means a quarterly charge of $3.30. That scales up based on that flow. So for a 3/4 inch meter, $4.95 per quarter, up to a 1 inch meter, which tends to be the highest of the residential meter types for those large houses with many irrigation zones, at $8.25 per quarter. The 2 through 1.5 really through 4 inch meters tend to be the commercial operations, and you see the flow rate reflected in those charges as well. So the chart below represents a very rough projection of PFAS surcharges by meter size through 2024. Again, this will be recalculated each year based on projected capital costs and operating expenses associated only with PFAS-related system improvements for that upcoming year. So you can see on the chart that the surcharge projections increase significantly as the years go on. So we'll use the 5/8 as an example since it's more than 18,000 customer accounts. Again, $3.30 in 2021 is the projection. $12.44 per quarter in 2022. This is that 22, 21, and 22 period is really where the design of our capital related projects is occurring. In 2023 and 2024, when those projects are actually being built, is our biggest capital outlay. And that's why you see this big jump in 2023 and 2024 in related quarterly charges. So 2023, a really rough estimate at this point would be $38.43 up to $54.54 in 2024. After that, the projections begin to drop back down again as fewer remaining projects are being built. And again, we're going to be keeping our eyes open for any and all funding that we can receive at either the state or federal level. We are engaged with our representatives and continue that effort to that end. But right now, this is our plan for removing chemicals that should not be here, that we did not put in the system, and that if we want to remove long term, this is the investment that we are required to make at this time.
All right. Thank you, Dan and Bill. Sorry about that. So I think what we touched on in distribution was very important. I don't think many people realize that Ridgewood Water system is over 100 years old. We are celebrating 100 years this year in 2021. being in service to the Borough of Glen Rock, Borough of Midland Park, Township of Wyckoff, and Village of Ridgewood. And it's clear from the presentations that you all gave that we're helping to shape Ridgewood Water and sustain its operations for another 100 years. I think the best laid plans are set. It's clear we have a lot in front of us, particularly with the PFAS treatment, but I don't doubt that we're going to achieve success and maintain the schedule that we put forward to get it all complete. So with that, I'm going to move to the question and answer portion of the presentation. I'm going to start with a question that's in the queue here. And I'm going to kind of put this to, I think, Neil first, and then probably to Ryan and Bill or Dan. But Patricia asks, should we be testing the water at our tap? So maybe, Neil, why don't you repeat again about the lead testing that's available for homeowners, and then I'll ask Ryan or Bill about what else could be done about certified labs and testing your water at the house.
Yeah, we actually do provide discounted water test kits at our customer service center. You can contact them through email or phone. They're both listed on our website. And with that, they would actually have a customer, an employee drop off a test kit at your home, and it will come with instructions on where to send it, how to do the test, and the cost that would be involved in having the test done. I can just say little things like if you have a full house filter or even a filtration on your actual faucet, they would prefer you to bypass that when you're filling it, because we don't want to rely on your filtration to remove these things. We want to make sure that the water we're providing to you is coming clean. So yes, it is recommended if you feel like your service line may be made out of lead. That's something I can help you with. Or if you're just interested to know if the treatment that we're doing for the water system is actually working in your internal pipings in your home.
Thank you, Neil.
No problem.
Ryan, Bill, you want to answer the other part of that? What if a customer wants know if there's bacteria in their water, or if there's a volatile organic compound? How would they go about testing that water?
Yeah, so basically you'd have to contact a private lab for like volatile organic compounds or any kind of other primary, secondary contaminant. I'm a proponent of always sampling, to be honest with you. I'm always, curious to see what's going on. And, I encourage other people to do the same, it keeps us on our toes and, it ensures that, you're getting the best possible water quality, at your tap. But in terms of bacteriological testing and chlorine residuals and, like kind of basic stuff, you can just call in to the treatment center, and I'll happily come by your home and do some routine testing for you, even show you how things are done, and what we do, and even explain it further for you if you were curious. But for for tests that actually require some money, to be honest with you, and analysis, you would probably have to contact a private laboratory. That's probably the best way to do it.
Thank you, Ryan. And for any customer that's interested, I believe we have a link on our website to all the certified labs in the state. If not, we'll put it back up there. But you want to make sure you only use a certified lab to perform any testing in your home. Ridgewood Water is certified for certain tests that we can perform at your home. All right, so we have another question here from Alan. How are you addressing the chlorine odor in the water? So I don't know if maybe Bill or Ryan want to take that question.
Sure, I'll give Ryan a break. I'll grab this one. So the chlorine residuals that we do run in the system are mandated by the NJDEP. With that said, I never discourage a customer from removing that chlorine after it reaches the tap. That can be done as simple as filling a glass and leaving it in the fridge. You can also use a point of use carbon filter that can be found on Amazon, but it is mandated to come to your home with those chlorine residuals to remove bacteria. So why do some homes get a stronger odor than other? It depends on how close they are to the well. chlorine tends to degrade as it passes through the system. So if you live closer to a well that's in operation, you may notice that smell a little stronger.
Thank you. We have a question from Ben. Ben asks, is water centrally treated or in multiple treatment facilities? Background of the question is that different residents seem to report different levels of concern water quality. If multiple, has there been any identification of specific neighborhoods with concern? So I don't know if Bill, maybe you want to take that, or Ryan as well.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So like Bill was talking about before, we're modeling eventually going to be doing centralized treatment for a lot of our well houses. But as of right now, we have multiple treatment facilities, to be honest with you. And each of them is chemically dosed, with chlorine and phosphate. Every single well house uses the same exact chemicals, and that gets pushed out into the distribution system. I guess has there been any identification of specific neighborhoods? To be honest with you, no. I mean, because like I said, with our sampling protocols, we take strategic looks at all points of our distribution system. So, if there's a point of area of concern, we would know right away, to be honest with you. And like with all the sampling that we do on a daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, that kind of problem would be found, and honestly, the residents would be notified right away. It's not something that we would keep to ourselves. We're very transparent, and we want to ensure that what we're providing to you is the best water quality that we can. So I hope that answers what you're kind of asking. If you want to go further, we can, but I think that's what you wanted to hear, maybe.
You know what, Ryan, kind of reading into the question, maybe I'll ask an added question to it. Does time of the year have a difference? Like certain times of the year, there's only certain things on. Other times of the year, we're buying water and other wells are on. Would that make a change?
For sure. Temperature is honestly, like, people kind of don't really think about that a lot, but that has a huge effect on water quality, to be honest with you. So colder temperatures kind of can hide things. Hotter temperatures in the summertime, you'll be more exposed, like you'll kind of get that chlorine smell maybe that you can smell, or or taste or something like that. And with different seasons, like summer, for example, we're pumping a lot of water. So we're drawing water from every single interconnection that we can, from every single well that we can. So the interconnections that we use, they sometimes use different disinfection than us. So that interaction between what they use for disinfection and what we use for disinfection sometimes can create odors that you guys would be experiencing. So like as to what Rich was saying, in different points of the year, you will get different types of water quality that you're going to receive, but at all times we're monitoring it, and we're on top of the parameters that we have to take care of. And if there is any intermittent problems or anything like that, we're going to address it and make sure that what's going on as well. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Ryan. I think this next one may be for you as well. Teresa wants to know, if we test all the time, why do we find out about contaminants so far after the fact?
So I'm assuming maybe you're talking about like PFAS or something like that, or other contaminants.
Use that as the example.
Yeah. So for PFAS, for example, so that actually just got regulated last year, to be honest with you. And water utilities, not just us, but like throughout the state, that, to be honest with you, they're not really equipped to treat for this kind of stuff right now. Like it takes a lot of capital, a lot of money, a lot of treatment technology in order to get this stuff out of the water. And it's been discharged into the groundwater for multiple years. It's not just something that just kind of like showed up just like that. This has been a problem for a long period of time. And the concentrations that we're seeing, they're extremely small. So it's the measurement that they're using is parts per trillion. To give you an idea of what that means, it's essentially 3 grains of salt in an Olympic sized pool. So if you want to look at it that way, I mean, it's incredibly small, but like the instrumentation allows it for us to detect that kind of stuff, and it's good to know, like it's good that we're on top of it and we're trying to take care of it. But I guess we find like since you're fine the way from your question, what we find out about contaminants so far after the fact. I mean, to be honest with you, we have to sample and analyze it first in order to really know what's going on. So I mean, these kinds of analyses take multiple days, even weeks sometimes. So unfortunately, I obviously would love to sample it right away and tell you right away what's going on, but the technology just isn't up to snuff, to be honest with you, at this point. So
I guess Teresa followed up, said she's not referring to PFAS, but thinking back on the reports that we send every year, they identify contaminants from prior periods. So I guess the consumer report each year that we issue in July is for the prior year's results.
And Rich, it might be worthwhile to talk about UCMR process too, and kind of how that plays out.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we meet all kinds of we meet every NJDEP rule and regulations, and we're in compliance with everything, honestly, except for PFAS. And if we weren't in compliance with certain chemicals or certain parameters, we are required by the NJDEP to send out public notification. So those CCR reports, that's just a compilation of what has been going on throughout the year. And the contaminants that, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what you're referring to, but the contaminants that that we're supplying on those CCR reports are just basically an average of what we take throughout the year, and basically showing you that they're under the maximum contaminant limit. If there, like I said, if there was a problem out in the distribution system and we knew about it, we are going to let you know right away. Like that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like the NJDP would require us to send out public notification, and you guys would know, like I said, right away. So
basically, the CCR report is informing you of everything that is in the water, not everything that is actionable in the water. So we are required to, when something's above an actionable level, you will know about it right away. But we're just being completely transparent with the CCR, telling you everything that's in the water, even below things that are required any action.
I think it's also important to note there's a link for the NJ Drinking Water Watch on our website. And what this basically is a DP portal. Any sample that's collected by Ryan and his team is uploaded within days to that portal. So any customer can view any result for any contaminant at any time just by going to our website and clicking on that link. It's not our link, it's the state's link, so it's a little clunky, takes a little getting used to, but you can find information dating back to samples from the 80s. It's basically our report card, and that's available right on our website.
Right. And I think it's important that you pointed out, Ryan, that if we did violate any of the requirements, the customers would be notified immediately as soon as the test results are available. So I'm gonna leave some more time for our attendees to put any questions they may have. I have a couple of my own that I'll ask while we wait. First one's for you, Dan. Can you give the audience an estimate on when you think WaterSmart and Visa payments will be available?
Absolutely. So thankfully, we are now talking weeks and not months on the rollout of these tools. Frankly, all three, the website, Invoice Cloud, and WaterSmart are frankly going to be rolling out imminently. And so that welcome letter has actually been finalized now. And every customer will expect that welcome letter to hit their mailboxes. My guess would be somewhere although we can't control the post office these days, the end of April, early May would be, I think, a reasonable guess. We've had some notices sent out, take varying amounts of times in different municipalities. So I'm a little wary of giving you an exact date, but I very soon, and we're very pleased about that. And while they are new tools, the point is that they are more user friendly, and they are more intuitive. And specifically with regard to the website, if you have thoughts or suggestions that you think that we should incorporate on the website, or certain information that you may want to put up there, please feel free to email the customer service inbox. We monitor that and route everything that comes in through there accordingly. So we'll be very interested to hear everyone's feedback, and very optimistic about that rollout.
Thank you, Dan. I mean, outside of WaterSmart, I think Visa payments is a huge improvement for the customers. So, Bill, a question for you. And it kind of goes in line with some of the questions we've heard and what we presented. We talked about lead, we talked about PFAS, we talked about the CCR that goes out every year, and it's only reflecting data from the prior year. What are we looking at in the future? What are the next contaminants of concern, and what has Rigid Water done to look out for them?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. I like that one. So some of the things we've looked at are 1,4-dioxane. We've looked at 1,2,3-TCP. We've looked at hexavalent chromium, which is people may recognize as the Aaron Brockovich chemical. We've also looked at new forms of PFAS. So Generation X. We've looked at PFBS. I'm happy to say that we've tested for all of these things. Not required. We just proactively tested for these things. We wanted to know, if we're centralizing treatment, what else are we dealing with? So I'm happy to report that all of these new emerging contaminants are not of concern. Very, very low levels of anything we've found.
Great, thank you. All right, so we have another question from SSK. PFAS contamination. Is this a recent occurrence, or has this become an issue because the detection technology and the knowledge of the contaminants have advanced?
That's a excellent question. So like I was saying before, PFAS had just recently went into legislation for for us, so we had to obviously start. It got regulated last year. The detection technology has gotten way better from prior instrumentation. So like I was saying, it's going down to the part per trillion, even the part per quadrillion. And those are extremely, extremely low numbers. To give you an idea, like I said, the 3 grains of salt in the Olympic sized pool. But if you like numbers, it's 0.00000001. That is 1 ppt. And that's basically what we're dealing with. And also the knowledge too has advanced over time. So we partake in these things called UCMRs. So they're unregulated contaminant endeavors that the EPA goes through, and they take into account all utilities throughout the nation, and they compile all this data, and they actually do testing and look at I'm pretty sure they put out white papers for health effects and stuff like that. So the technology and the knowledge has grown vastly from back 20, 30 years ago, when this stuff was being discharged into the water supply. So like we were saying, we're just trying to roll with the punches, and we're trying to keep on top of everything. And that's why we do pilot studies, and that's why we're trying to be proactive with everything, and creating these master plans for PFAS. So It's just, there's always going to be contaminants that we're going to have to deal with, to be honest with you. So, we just want you guys we want to be as transparent with you guys as possible. And we want you to know, like, this is something that we're going to have to work together with, to be honest with you, to get this done. So.
All right, thank you, Ryan. All right, so we have a few more minutes. Wait to see if there's any other questions. I have another one for you, Dan. What does a customer do if they have a high bill? How can they check if there's a leak in the last 90 days or if they still have one?
Sure. So there's kind of a current case and a future case. So currently, if you have a high bill, reaching out to us via phone, email, to the customer service inbox would be the best way. And from there, you would schedule an appointment for what is called a data logger. Up front, we would try to talk to you about any potential changes on your property, whether it be irrigation, something specifically, more often than not, something leak like toilet, irrigation line. We have learned AWWA, American Water Works Association, has a tidbit of information out that between every 5 and 7 years, the flapper in your toilet will fail. And so when you kind of think about that, and our customers think about their high bills, toilet flappers tend to be really the kind of biggest indoor culprit that we find. And, to sort of gut check that and make sure we know if that's been remedied, we would schedule a data logger and one of our metering technicians would come out to your property. We use a Bluetooth connection on an iPad that connects to the meter, and it allows us to download hourly data backward for 90 days. And so we're able to kind of troubleshoot and establish a baseline of water usage and see any deviations from that baseline. So we really can tell based on the amount of water used, do we think it was a toilet? Has it been resolved? When did it start? When did it end? Is it still ongoing? We would ask you to check faucets, to check, toilets, obviously. And then if you have an irrigation system, this tends to occur a lot, when irrigation systems are first open for the season. In the future, by providing our customers with monthly data. So right now, you're only seeing your quarterly bill with your full kind of quarterly read. Using WaterSmart, you're going to be getting access to each month's water usage. And in doing so, we're really hoping to, reduce the amount of leaks in the system and save you, our customers, money by giving you that, that peace of mind by knowing what your water consumption is each month. Right now, previously, and prior to WaterSmart, when we look at an account history, we're seeing for, a couple months that a leak has been running, and you may not know it. It might be in a bathroom of your house that you haven't used for a while. That is something that will, trigger a consumption threshold on our end. And by establishing a threshold on your end too, using WaterSmart, it'll alert you to be checking those places in your home as well. So data loggers are a great tool, and we do a lot of them every year. And again, you could just reach out to us to schedule those through customer service. Going forward, you'll be able to use WaterSmart to communicate with us. And then, if need be, we schedule the next steps of a data logger as well.
All right, thank you, Dan. And we did get another question in, and I believe it's for you. Will customers who aren't digitally native still be able to interact with the utility the way they have in the past for payments and questions?
Absolutely. Certainly. And so Invoice Cloud, to talk about payments, for example. So our current payment processor is a little bit clunky. And moving to the new one that will help. There will be a standalone payment methodology outside of WaterSmart where customers could pay their bills. But anyone who still wants to mail in their bill, to call us and make a payment, that's going to be totally available. There's actually going to be a phone line where you can call and make an electronic payment. and that will be available after hours. So you won't need to worry about, contacting us during the business day. And so, all of those previously available options will remain open for our customers. But we're excited about the tools, and we believe that it will definitely change the way in which we interact with our customers, and that you all interact with us, much for the better. And but yeah, if any customers still need to call in to ask questions, none of that will change.
And I'll just add, even though we are currently closed to the public, there's still the ability to call up and arrange a time to come to Village Hall. We have a service window downstairs that any customer could come, use to pay their bill or ask a question. So that's still available, and hopefully we're hoping by sometime this summer we'll be back open again, where walk-ins will be allowed. Thank you. So Alan has another question. Is there a recommended home leak detection system with auto shut-off in case of flooding from an appliance, etc.? So I know I've seen some of these advertised, so I'll leave that open if anybody wants to grab that or has any more information on that.
I don't know of any in particular, and none that we would recommend. Generally speaking, I have definitely seen advertisements for them. I've read a little bit about some products, but none that we can necessarily recommend or advocate for. I do know that occasionally people might reach out to their own home insurance. Sometimes home insurance will work on or work with specific products that could help catastrophic issues in a home. So that might be one additional avenue. But no, I don't have any specific recommendations, unfortunately.
And if you do have a leak in your home and something that's uncontrollable, you could always call us. There's even an after hours number, and we can shut you off at the curb if you have that type of situation that you can't control. All right, so I think we're done. Great questions. I want to thank the panel again. I definitely want to thank our audience for coming on a beautiful evening like tonight. I know everybody wants to get outside. It's been a tough year for all, but thank you for being with us. Again, if you think of something you didn't ask, please call us at 201-670-5520 or email us at cswater@ridgewoodnj.net. Hope everybody has a safe and wonderful evening, and we will talk to you all soon. Thank you very much.
And he'll let us know who else. Okay, sure.